never thought that would happen.
So Ava, it looks like we have you back before we go. Just a couple more minutes here with us on the Oakland County Megacast. What's this been like for you long term? Are you hoping to get back into the classroom at all before you end your high school career?
It would be amazing to be able to get back and see all my teachers and spend the day and even just one day like in a classroom with all my friends and everything. But I think that it's honestly like we just have to accept that that might not happen and learn to like be okay with it and learn to appreciate that we have had 3 other years of high school and time with our teachers and friends and everything, and just to be thankful that we did have all of those times.
Did you ever think that you would say, I can't wait to get up early and get dressed and go to school?
Honestly, I never thought I would say that ever. Like I never thought that I would miss like driving to school at 6:30 in the morning or waiting in that turn line or anything, but I do miss it a lot.
Do either of you play sports?
Yeah, I'm on the varsity Palms team as well as the golf team.
So what's this been like for you with your sports and those being canceled?
So thankfully, golf is a sport where it starts in August and ends really early in the school year. And since it's golf, you're able to social distance really easily. So we actually had a normal season. We had to wear masks and just take precautions. But for the Palms team, it has been difficult because right now we can't have practices. We weren't able to perform at the first few football games, which is kind of sucky because, you just want to embrace all the time you have. But we were lucky to perform at a few football games. So we hope to do basketball soon.
Oh, fingers crossed, right? And with that, Ava, do you want to talk a little bit before we let you go about Staff Appreciation Week as well?
Yeah, we have a staff appreciation and a student appreciation committee that just works to make sure that both groups really do feel that they're appreciated and that they matter and everything. It kind of goes hand in hand with You Matter Week. And so for staff appreciation, we had students make like a little video thanking the staff for what they've been doing.
That from yesterday's edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Good morning, I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake. Today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast also on the Facebook page of Ronnie Dahl on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and 88.1 The Biff. Here we go. Good Thursday morning and welcome to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. I'm joined as always today from her home studio by Ronnie Dahl.
Tyler, this could be a monumental day for the United States in the fight against COVID-19 because even as we sit here right now, the final review is underway for Pfizer's vaccination. And if it gets approved, then we could start to see the vaccine being distributed here in the United States early, as late as the end of this week and the beginning of next week. And you know what that means, Tyler.
Yeah, it means that we're starting the beginning of the end of this pandemic, hopefully, should everything work out just fine with the Pfizer vaccine and maybe some of these other vaccines that have been in the works as well. We could be starting to see this start to wind down finally, not speculatively wind down, but actually have some action that shows it's starting to come to its end.
Yeah, and while we're all excited to have a vaccine, there are a lot of people, and I will say I'm among this group, a little hesitant to get the vaccine as well, because it does seem like it's been rushed. Although our health experts are telling us that is not the case. But still, it's a little uneasy in some regard, but it's also one of those things. I think people will take the vaccine if it means getting back to a life as we used to know it, or at least closer to that life, so to say.
Everyone's hoping to get back to that here pretty soon with the vaccine out. That excitement's only going to grow, and some anticipation also. People are probably going to get a little bit antsy as it's going to be a slower process getting this vaccine out than others we've seen in the past.
Oh my goodness, such a long road ahead of us, nearly 9 months into this, and we are still battling this pandemic. And as you said, it's going to be many more months before the vaccine is widely available to the public, which means that we are going to continue to be living like this for at least the next few months. And let's go ahead and start the Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast off with some headlines, Tyler. COVID 19 cases may be actually plateauing here in the state of Michigan after the big surge. Michigan's top epidemiologist said Wednesday there's reason for cautious optimism. That's the key words there, because of new data emerging about the spread of the coronavirus in the state. COVID 19 case rates are starting to dip. Michigan is now averaging about 516 cases per million people. That's down from 610 cases per million people last week. That's according to Sarah Lyon-Callow. She's the director for the Bureau of Epidemiology and Population Health at the State Health Department. Hospitalizations of people with COVID-19 symptoms and the rate of intensive care unit admissions appears to be plateauing or declining as well, she said, even though the state overall is now seeing hospitalizations at about 90% of the spring peak. The three metrics, by the way, the health officials watch most carefully to measure the state of the pandemic: the percentage of positive coronavirus tests, the number of cases per million people, and the percentage of hospital beds occupied by patients with COVID-19 over the last 7 days. So at least we are starting to see those numbers go down. They're not near as low as they need to be and as what we saw back in the summer months, but still it is a sign of hope.
Yeah, the whole purpose behind these most recent set of shutdowns, this 3 week and now 3 week plus 12-day pause, was to see that surge start to plateau or have a significant plateau. So if it is starting to flatten out a little bit, that's certainly good news. It's not anything that's major, and that's why there's that, as they said, cautious optimism behind this report. But any reduction in COVID-19 cases and positive cases during this current surge is, of course, going to come as good news to the state of Michigan, to the people of Michigan, and the greater fight against COVID-19.
Healthcare professionals can decline COVID-19 vaccines for now, anyway. Millions of healthcare workers are slated to receive the first batch of potentially life-saving COVID-19 vaccines by the end of the month, but not all of them want to be first in line. Only 1/3 of a panel of 13,000 nurses said they would take the vaccine. Another third said they wouldn't, and the rest said they were unsure. And this is according to a late October survey by the American Nurses Association. If nurses and other healthcare professionals continue to shy away from the shots, some hospitals and clinics say they'll require employees to get vaccinated if they want to keep their jobs. An advisory committee to the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommended December 1st that the nation's 21 million healthcare workers and 3 million long-term care residents receive the first batch of shots. Keep in mind, those shots are going to be distributed 2 per person, and you get the shots, 2 shots per person, 3 weeks apart. I think, Tyler, this is going to be the big conversation going into 2021 is about the vaccination. And can your employer require you to get vaccinated? But I think we're going to see this conversation continue well into 2021 and even beyond.
Yeah, we're going to see some legal battles about this, certainly, as we head into 2021, as the vaccine becomes distributed more to the wider general public. People are going to refuse to get the vaccine. Their employers are going to say, well, we're not going to let anyone back in the office unless they get a vaccine. If you're not going to get a vaccine, maybe we even will let you go. And you're going to have some wrongful termination suits. You may have some arguments that it's violating their civil rights. And so this is going to be something that is an ongoing argument as we head into 2021. This is the next big argument in this COVID-19 saga. We had, of course, the arguments from the state of Michigan, the legislature, into the Supreme Court about whether or not the governor could use certain powers in order to battle COVID-19. That was a long battle. It's still, in some ways, ongoing. And now you have this next one, which is going to be individuals versus their employers, employers versus their employees, determining the legality of being able to require or not being able to require getting a COVID-19 vaccine in order to return to work or do certain things out in the general public.
Yeah, we should get an employment lawyer on with us maybe next week to try to talk about this a little bit more in depth, because I do think this is going to be the big conversation going into the next year. Also making news this morning on civiccentertv.com, the Menorah and the D is going to be celebrated with a virtual event. Everything is changing this year. Detroit's 10th annual Menorah and the D, a community Hanukkah celebration at Campus Martius, will go virtual this year as the Jewish holiday begins at sundown tonight. Families and their community members are encouraged to join the festivities on Zoom and light their menorahs as the 26-foot Detroit menorah is lit. The event typically draws thousands, but this year, as a result of COVID-19 safety protocols, the rabbi will lead the invite-only ceremony at Campus Martius, and at 5 p.m. guests can join a Zoom link at menorahandthed.com for greetings from community leaders and dignitaries. A 10-year recap on the torch ceremony will be presented as well. That will be followed by a 6 p.m. Zoom after party, during which families watching from any location will be welcome to share their greetings. And a little bit later here in the show, we will have the rabbi with us here on the Oakland County Megacast talking about tonight's event, but also how Hanukkah is going to be a little bit different for so many families this year as COVID-19 continues to be a crisis in our community.
All these families that have been celebrating the many holidays in late November through the end of the year have had to figure out some new ways to do that, and that's certainly going to affect those that are celebrating this major Jewish holiday of Hanukkah as we head into late December. And some of these traditions that we have at this time of the year are going to continue to be changing to be either entirely virtual, and partially in person, or not happen at all and be suspended until next year. And Menorah and the D is an example of one that has transitioned to be entirely virtual, to still be able to engage those that adore this tradition and want to continue to be participating in this tradition, especially their 10th annual, but still make it special during the COVID-19 pandemic, special and safe.
Well, and I do think there are some good things coming out of this, because by doing a virtual event, you do reach a lot more people. It's not the same. It's never the same experience, but you do reach so many more people, not just here in the state of Michigan, not just in the city of Detroit, but really across the world that can tune in to a virtual event. So hopefully there are some positives that come out of this crisis that continue post-pandemic if we ever actually get there.
And I think that they will. I think that a lot of what has been done during the pandemic has been learned during the pandemic, and those lessons will be carried out into traditions going forward and modify them even going forward, where parts of what has happened in these certain traditions normally will, of course, come back when it's safe to do so. But some of these new ideas that have been birthed out of this pandemic, out of a need for caution or creativity, or both, will also contribute to these traditions changing in a new era as we head out of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, let's hope again that this is going to be the day that the end is near, because again, Pfizer under review for the final review for the possibility of the vaccine getting its first round of approval so that we can start the vaccination program here in the United States. Of course, they've already started it in the UK and other countries as well. So it'd be great to be able to join those countries. And we're all done with this, right? Tyler, are you done with this?
I'm pretty done with this. I think that goes for I would say everybody, or most everybody.
Tyler, how long will it take you to be comfortable to go to a Sparty football game?
It'll take me probably a few months. I mean, by the time that the vaccine, at least at the pace that's estimated currently, has been distributed and through everybody, it'll be well before next fall. And so I think by then I would be comfortable to venture back out to those kinds of sporting events with large gatherings of people.
Hey, any no determination yesterday from the MHSAA on the playoffs for the high school sports? Did you hear anything?
I have
I
not
forgot to
heard
check that this
no, I have
morning.
not heard anything just yet. They're still deliberating on that. I know that the Board of Governors was supposed to meet this week in order to discuss plans to continue possibly the fall season, if that is at all possible, and definitely to discuss what plans will be made for a modified winter season. They have not made any updates as far as I know. The last update they had was in mid-November when they made their initial update to the playoff schedule for fall sports following the initiation of the 3-week pause, but still nothing yet to be announced. We did hear some frustration from their executive director, Mark Ewell, regarding the continued shutdown and how that's affecting high school sports and high school athletes, student athletes as well, but nothing official regarding continuity of this season.
Well, we'll continue to watch that. Again, you're the sports fanatic on this show, but it does mean so much to so many different people and so many different players. It impacts them, so a decision is needed and wanted sooner rather than later. But what's hard is because what if they make a decision, but then the pause is extended yet again? And then they're just going to have to cancel everything. So we'll see where that goes, and we'll continue to monitor the situation with the high school sporting arena. With that, Tyler, we have a great show on the Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Speaking about high school students, we'll be talking with a couple here coming up in just a few minutes. West Bloomfield High School students, they're actually with the choir. I'm fascinated by how some of these music performances have been able to continue virtually. So we'll be talking with the students over there at the West Bloomfield High School about that. Excited to have John Sinclair with us. He's a poet, writer, and political activist. He was jailed for 10 years for selling 2 marijuana cigarettes. He's 79 years old. So fingers crossed we do get him. Because, even younger people have problems with Zoom. So we'll see if we can get John Sinclair on. Excited to have him. I was doing quite a bit of research last night into today about his background. A fascinating person. So it'd be great to be able to speak with him. We'll also be talking in the 11 o'clock hour with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, their communications person, talking about some unwanted species coming into the state of Michigan and how you, the public, can help in that. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the rabbi is going to be with us talking about tonight's menorah and the celebration and Hanukkah. And then we'll round out the show, hopefully on a high note, with the Michigan Animal Rescue League. They have some exciting news that they're sharing with the public as well, although a little bit differently this year. So we have a lot to get to on the Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast, and we'll get things started right after this break.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joanne Foreman. I'm the Chief Medical Executive for the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. The people who are at highest risk of getting severely ill from COVID-19 are the elderly and those with chronic medical conditions. That includes people with heart disease, diabetes, COPD, or those who have compromised immune systems. People who are in those categories should right now be staying at home as much as possible and not going out if it is not essential. If you fit into one of those categories, those are the things you should do. And if you have a family member who fits into one of those categories, you should be checking in on them and making sure they are following those guidelines. There's something everyone can do to protect the community from COVID-19.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
Thank you for checking out the Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. My name's Ronnie Dahl. I'm in my home studio while Mr. Tyler Keith holds things down back there in West Bloomfield. And just as a reminder, you can catch Tyler and I Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. until noon, Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. If you have cable, you can tune us in on Channel 15. If you have Comcast 99, if you have AT&T, you can also dial us in on the radio, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And then today we are also live streaming today's edition of the Oakland County Megacast on my Facebook page, the journalist page, Ronnie Dahl. So thank you to anyone that may be tuning in. You know, music is definitely the soundtrack to life. And while the COVID crisis has changed how it's performed, it hasn't stopped the music, but performers are getting creative. Joining us now on the Megacast is Melodie Knappe and Daniel Wisely with the Student Choir Board at West Bloomfield High School. Thank you both for being with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
So Daniel, let's go ahead and we'll start with you since you're already up. What's this been like for you? This whole past year?
Obviously, it has not been what anyone was planning for. I think we can all agree on that. But it's been a year of learning, I think, in many aspects, from virtual school to virtual choir. We've been trying a lot of new things. And I think we're learning a lot. And we're learning how to make art in different ways, in different places, and how it can extend anywhere as long as we try hard enough.
Melodie, how about for you? What's this been like?
Well, it's my senior year. And it's, as Daniel said, it's not what we expected. It's certainly not like a senior year that a typical kid would get. But that's why it's kind of so important to work hard to get these things. I spent a lot of time in my bedroom at a desk working on my computer. That's pretty
exhausting
much...
in a way,
right? Yes.
So with that, how do you, music is so much about being around one another and feeding off of that energy and that spark and that creativity. What's it been like to try to recreate that in some regard, but do it virtually?
I can start. I think I can't lie to you and tell you that it's the same. It's not, but we certainly do our best. Especially in our choir class, we take a lot of time to talk because it's such a bonding thing singing together. And when we're not physically singing together, it's not quite the same. So we talk about what's going on. How's everyone doing? So we're trying to bond. And so when we go on mute and sing, because we can't all sing with our mics on, it does feel like you're a part of something bigger. And even if you can't hear the person next to you, you know that they're somewhere in another house in the same town singing the same thing. And it makes you feel connected.
How about for you, Melodie?
As well as in within a class, we do our talks, but then also on a greater scale within the whole department, among all the different choirs, we have bonding events. We got together and we all watched High School Musical together, or we had a Halloween party and stuff like that, just trying to retain the sense of community.
With that, how are you actually practicing as a choir when you're trying to do it virtually?
So our teacher creates, she's awesome. Mrs. Hauk, she creates sound bits that have the parts for each. We learn the music individually. You practice it with the audios that she sends. And then she does recordings of her conducting along with the music, and you watch that and you sing along with that. And then everyone sends their videos in. Those get all edited together, and then that creates a song where everyone is singing together.
So with that, Daniel, when you're doing it, what is it like if you don't have the same equipment? What mics are you using? And the sound has to be different for each individual as well.
It's certainly different, and it relies on technology a lot. I know like one of our Laker Express members, Kyle, his dad is one of his hobbies is like he's a videographer. And so he has like a great camera and audio equipment, whereas I use a cell phone. You know what I mean? It's not quite the same thing. But at a certain point, we're just all doing our best, and so we're gonna put it together, and we do everything. We check in settings, make sure we're at like the same frame rates, stuff like that, just so when it comes together, it's not a total mashup, if that makes sense.
So it's not, because you guys have a virtual show coming up. Are you a little nervous?
Yeah, it's a little nerve-wracking. Daniel and I are actually emceeing it. It's kind of nervous because you don't really know what it's going to be like. You've never heard it before. I mean, I've heard myself, but I've never heard anyone else singing. And you've no idea how it's going to come together because, I mean, choirs are so much about the collective voice. And so when you're singing together, even just one person, like being missing from a choir, even like a 50-person choir, it really changes the sound of the choir. And so it's just, you know, you don't know what to expect, but it's a little fun surprise each time. And sometimes you're like, oh, that was way better than I thought it would be, you know?
So are you guys using like a certain program to try to record everything in a certain program with the same audio?
So we each basically like use our camera app. We check our settings, make sure all our settings are uniform across the board. But our teacher, Mrs. Howe, she's working her butt off to put everything together. And she uses Final Cut Pro on her Mac, which is advanced editing software, but it's just anyone could buy it, you know what I mean? And putting the videos and all the audio together.
Yeah, because it's one thing to do the video, but also to manipulate the audio so it comes across as you all singing together. And with that, so how many songs are going to be a part of the virtual performance?
We have 1 to 2 songs for each choir. We have, I think, 4 different choirs. And then we also have solos from the choirs as well. So that's kind of making our mashup.
Daniel, do you want to talk a little bit about your upcoming part of this performance? So you're going to be one of the MCs?
Yeah, so Melodie and I are going to MC the event together. So we're going to be, normally there wouldn't be an MC at a choir concert. Choirs would come in and off the stage as they're transitioning. We have soloists, but in a virtual format, it's like we're playing videos that have been edited together. So Melodie and I are going to jump in and say, hey, you know what, here's this choir, here's a fun fact about this song. This is why it means a lot to us, that kind of thing. And then we'll play the video and just kind of hopefully make the night run smooth.
Daniel, I love your shirt. Hope and
Thanks.
Harmony.
That's that's the theme of the concert this year, actually. Melodie has hers on as well. And in a tough time, we came up with this theme during COVID, obviously. But so our theme for the this year is Hope and Harmony, because I think we could all use a little bit of hope right now.
Isn't that the truth, right? And with that, how do you think the music industry is going to change because of COVID? Will you be comfortable one day going back to a live concert?
I think I would. I'm not sure it would be soon. I think the great thing about creating sort of these new virtual platforms is that it makes art accessible to a lot more people. It makes it so that, I mean, like my grandparents in Canada can watch my show and like that kind of thing, things they couldn't do before. So I think it's not real, you know, live stage shows aren't going away anytime soon. I think they'll be back. But I think it's also cool that we've adapted and so that there's going to be new platforms to use going forward.
So Melodie, you said you're a senior?
Yes, ma'am.
So hopefully you guys can get back to the classroom at least for some type of graduation or something. But what are you studying next year? Do you know? Are you going to college? Do you have your future plans kind of ironed out yet?
Yeah, I do plan to go to college, get a degree. Right now, I'm not looking at anything music related. It's a hobby. It's a great hobby. I definitely won't lose it in the future. I'll be singing in choirs in college, but I'm planning to go for a literature degree and a political science degree.
So, Daniel, do you want to talk a little bit about what music means to you as an individual and how it's helped you during this crisis?
Absolutely. I think, first of all, it's what we call You Matter Week at our high school, which is like our mental health awareness week. So it's I think this is a perfect time to be talking about it. And personally, for me, music has helped me heal in a time where we feel isolated and afraid. We don't know what's going to happen. I'm afraid to turn on the news. I'm sure you guys are too. Music's kind of brought me back to comfort. So whether it's singing it or listening to it or supporting my friends who are trying to make music, you know what I mean? Putting songs on Spotify, things like that. Just music, it makes me feel comfortable and it makes me feel grounded. And so for me, it has really kept me sane during the pandemic.
So, and with that, do you think that in some ways the technology we have today makes it easier for performers such as yourself to be able to put together your own song and put it out to the public?
Absolutely. I think with things like you can have GarageBand on your phone, you know what I mean? You can get a beat going, you can get anything. You also think you have TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, anywhere you can use those platforms to brand yourself, get your music out there. I think compared to 10, 20, 50 years ago, I think now is the time to be a musician because it's the easiest time to consume music.
The easiest time to consume it, but it could be a hard time right now for performers to actually make money off of it as well because those live venues have been closed this entire time. Melodie, before we let you go, just a couple more minutes with the two of you. Do you want to tell us about the concert?
Sure. The concert's going to be on the 16th. It's our winter concert. It's holiday themed. We have lots of holiday themed and hope themed songs from our choirs and from some soloists. And we're just going to try and come together as a community and enjoy some music.
Daniel, you want to give a shout out to your choir coach?
Absolutely. Mrs. Cheryl Hauk. She's helping us get through it all, and she's terrific about keeping us together and making things happen. So we love you, Mrs. Hauk.
Well, we wish you both and your entire choirs the best of luck because it is a trying time to try to be a part of the choir. And I'm sure back in the beginning, you were thinking this isn't possible, but you found the impossible in the possible and the impossible. So best of luck to all of you, and a huge shout out to your choral director as well for all of her work and trying to actually make this happen.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yes, thank you, Ronnie. We appreciate it.
No, you guys are great, and best of luck. We'll be tuning in. Again, Daniel, since you're up quickly before we let you go, I'm sure people can go ahead and just log on to watch it if they want to.
Absolutely. If you check our social media throughout the district, anywhere on social media, you can find it. Dan Durkin, the PR guy for West Bloomfield School District, he's getting it out there. So yes, you can certainly log on, come join us, come have some fun, and let's have some fun together.
Exactly. And holiday music, we all need that right now.
Agreed.
Well, thank you both for being with us. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. And when we come back, we are going to be talking to an icon here in the Metro Detroit area and his fight to free the weed and what the last 50 years has been like for him. You're watching the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Park's COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
As rivals, we don't always see eye to eye.
Like who scored the best recruits?
Who's gonna be who?
And whether we wear green
or blue.
But one thing we can all agree on to help stop the spread of COVID-19.
Wear a mask.
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 The ball's in your court, Michigan.
Tyler, I'm super excited to have the next guest on with us here on the Oakland County Megacast, December 10th. It's an anniversary of sorts, 1971, 49 years ago. 30-year-old John Sinclair was sitting in a Jackson prison cell and listening on the radio as some of music's greatest performers came together for a concert in Ann Arbor to raise awareness to his cause, because he was sentenced to 10 years in prison for selling 2 marijuana cigarettes to an undercover police officer. He's long been an advocate to free the weed, and here to talk more is John Sinclair, a poet, a political activist. It is great to have you with us here on the show.
Thank you, but I didn't sell the marijuana. I gave the 2 joints to an undercover police woman.
Oh, so you didn't even sell it?
No.
Well, what'd they get you on?
Idiocy, prejudice, all the things that motivate them, lies.
So you're 79 now. You were 30 back at the day. Do you remember that day? I know you were in a prison cell listening on the radio to the concert. Tell us about that day.
I was in a prison cell listening to the concert on the radio. Was there?
Did you ever think, though, that you would garner such attention from some of the biggest performers in the world? I mean, we're talking about John Lennon, Bob Seger. Come on. I mean, that's pretty amazing.
Bob Seger was a friend of mine. I was active in the music business in Detroit. I was the manager of a band called the MC5, which was the biggest band in Detroit. Everybody knew me.
You were the man.
I was a man.
Do you think you were kind of targeted because of your beliefs and the culture at that time?
No question.
So with that, how long did you actually serve?
29 months.
And when you got out, you've continued to be an activist. Tell us about your life since then.
Oh, God. 50 years is a long time. It's a lot of life.
But I've been reading up on you, and I will say I think that you probably have quite a few stories to share.
I do. I don't know about sharing, but I experienced some.
So obviously, you were kind of one of the casualties of the war on drugs against marijuana, but we are finally seeing the laws start to change. Here, at least here in the state of Michigan, they haven't changed federally yet. What's your take on the access to marijuana now and the realization that it should be legal?
Well, I think it's a good thing. I think the entire anti-marijuana movement generated by the state and the federal government was a lie. It was based on lies that had no scientific basis. And it was just a means of persecuting people that they didn't feel had the correct outlook, that weren't drinking alcohol like a normal person.
So do you feel that they should go back now that it's legal here in the state of Michigan, and anyone that is sitting in jail because of marijuana cases or charges, should they be released? What's being done to try to fight for those people?
They should already have been released, but there's a couple of groups that are singling out the people that are still in there, and they're trying to help them get out. There's quite a few. But they released quite a few. And then they also put it in the law to expunge their records and restore them to full citizenship. but there isn't any talk of reparations. I think they should pay us.
While you were sitting behind bars, what was going through your mind every day? Did you use that time to write more poetry or?
Yes. I wrote all the time. Every day I wrote 7 single-spaced typewritten pages home to my people in Ann Arbor, directing my freedom movement run by my brother and my ex-wife.
What about that support? You had a lot of support from the community, from people that you knew, but also people you didn't know.
Right. Well, it was a bad thing. It was bad judgment on the part of the authorities. They should have never done nothing like this. And they paid for it. Now they're paying even more because they're having these terrible rights that they usurped, taking away from them. So it's a good thing. It'll take quite a while for us to take it all back from the police, so because they benefited more than anyone else in society from this war on drugs.
What are your feelings about the police and the law enforcement in general?
I think they're a bunch of crooks.
So with that, so it was the Freedom Rally in Ann Arbor 49 years ago today. Have you ever had the chance to speak with some of the performers other than Bob Seger? Because I know you said he was your friend. What about Stevie Wonder or John Lennon? Have you ever talked to them directly?
Yeah, sure.
What were those conversations like?
Fun.
Well, you're not very talkative today.
Well, so what? How much are you paying me? You made me get up here in the morning and talk about some shit that happened 50 years ago. I don't care. I've lived my life since then and I've overcome this shit. Bores the hell out of me.
So what's your life like now? What have you been doing? Are you still an activist?
I'm a marijuana activist, yeah.
Tell us about some of the things you've been doing recently.
Well, I participated in the struggle to legalize medical marijuana and then to legalize recreational marijuana. I write a column for the Michigan Marijuana Report every month. It's called Free the Weed. I have my own radio station online called RadioFreeAmsterdam.org. I put up 2 hours of music every day.
So you do that every day?
Yeah.
And with that, where can people find it?
RadioFreeAmsterdam.org.
Okay. And so you went to Amsterdam, right? Have you lived there or do you live here permanently now?
Oh, I spent half the year there for 15 years.
What's it like?
Years ago. What's it like living in civilization?
Right. You talk about the culture, the difference in the culture around weed in the United States versus in other parts of the world.
Well, I know Holland, Amsterdam, where they haven't legalized marijuana, but they created what they call a gray area about 50 years ago, about 72. And they allow marijuana to be sold over the counter in coffee shops and to be smoked on the premises with your friends. So it's pretty civilized.
Do you wonder after all this time, kind of what's the big deal? Just, it should be normalized?
No, it's these people, these fascists that run our government who don't want people to get high, because if you get high, you see through the bullshit of and who's telling the truth. So they don't like this.
John Sinclair with this.
They don't want you to have a job if you get high.
Yeah. So with that, tell us a little bit about that, because, now, even though it's legal in the state of Michigan, a lot of jobs still prohibit people.
Right. That's why, though. They don't want you getting too high on the job, because the job is usually a bunch of what you have to do. Me, I don't have a job. I've never had a job. I'm not going to have a job. The whole idea of a job is.
So how do you survive?
I live by my whips.
So are you still writing poetry?
Right now I'm on SSI from the government. The government takes care of me in my old age.
Okay.
They pay all my medical expenses. I got medical problems.
But you seem like you hate the government, but the government's helping you.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't until I was 65 that they helped me. If you can survive to get old, they'll help you out. Up until then, good luck.
You're on your own.
Yeah.
John Sinclair with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He's a poet, a writer, and a political activist. And it was 49 years ago today that the John Sinclair Freedom Rally was held in Ann Arbor. It's a long time ago, but you've lived a big life. So let's go into a few things that you've been doing recently. You said that you have like a podcast, a radio show that you're doing.
What's a radio station? I got 12 disc jockeys. I put up 2 hours of music every day, blues and jazz.
So what's it been like for you during the pandemic?
Well, I've been sick, so I'm already quarantined. A year ago, my walker broke and I fell over and broke my shoulder. So that lasted 3 months, and then when that got better, I had a heart attack. And I had open heart surgery in February. So I just stay home and recover from this. And I've fallen down. I fall down. I'm old. I fall down. I've hit the ground about 20 times in the last 3 years. So I'm all beat up inside.
Do you think, I know that you said this was 49 years ago, it was a long time ago, but do you think back on those days at all, that you had so many people coming together to rally around you to make a permanent change?
No, but I think about it because it's still happening. Same people. Some of the same people are the ones who created legalized marijuana. And also a lot of younger people, but a lot of people in my generation are still trying to change this stuff. I believe the marijuana movement is the last bastion of pure democracy in America. That we have changed these laws without any help from the governing bodies, against the opposition of the legislatures. In no case has the legislature come forth and said, we should legalize marijuana. It's all been citizens through a petition process.
Did you think that you would ever see this day come, though, for it to be legalized?
I thought it would happen in 1977.
Wow. Well, John, it's been great having you with us. We're wishing you, I hope that you're feeling better, though.
Well, thanks.
Okay, John Sinclair with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. He's a poet, a writer, and a political activist. Thank you so much for taking time to be with us. Feel better, stay safe, and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Okay, you take care. We're going to take a quick break here, and we'll be right back on the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards. Back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus.
Great to have you with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Our thanks to John Sinclair. You have to remember he's 79 years old. He has lived quite the life. But again, it was 49 years ago today that they had that big rally for him in Ann Arbor, and how life has changed since then. So our appreciation to him. We're going to switch gears a little bit here on the Oakland County Megacast. COVID-19 is not the only unwanted visitor to the state of Michigan. The Michigan Department of Natural Resources is on the lookout for invasive species doing harm to our environment. Joining us now, Joanne Foreman. She's the communications coordinator for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Invasive Species Program. Thank you for being with us on this Thursday. How are you doing?
Great, Ronnie. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit first about the program and the focus of the program.
Absolutely. Michigan's Invasive Species Program has been ongoing for over a decade so far. And what our goal is to work with communities and average citizens, and in hopes of preventing invasive species. And if we can't prevent them, we sure want to work to eliminate them as best we can.
I know you.
So this is a program. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so I know you have some species that you're focused on right now, but is it hard to get attention on this issue in the middle of a pandemic?
You know, that's interesting. Actually, the pandemic has brought a lot more folks outdoors. And when people are outdoors, they tend to notice more things. And in noticing them, they might notice unusual things, whether they're bugs or plants or whatnot. And that actually has helped us get people to report things that they're seeing.
Oh, see, so that's the upside of the pandemic.
Yes, definitely the outdoors is a resurgence.
So with that, tell us some things that we as just regular people should be looking for.
Okay, well, like as I said, you know, there's a lot of different invasive species that either are in Michigan or could get here. So we're urging people to be alert to things that seem unusual or out of place, something that they haven't seen before. One in particular that we're really focused on at this time of year in the winter is hemlock woolly adelgid. Hemlock woolly adelgid is a little tiny insect, but in mass, it feeds on our hemlock trees. Hemlock trees are some of the sustaining aspects of our northern forests. So if you're up north, you're probably passing by a lot of them. This tiny little insect, like I said, will suck sap out of hemlocks and can eventually kill them over time if left untreated. So right now is a time when you can see them because they create these small, round, what we call ovisacs. They look like the tips of a Q-tip. And those end up on the undersides of the branches of the hemlock trees near the needles. So if you're out in the forest, say you're going to snowshoe or hike or enjoy some of those things that you've picked up as hobbies again since the pandemic started, this is a good time to just look up at the understory, see what you can see. If you see those little cottony masses, that's likely to be hemlock woolly adelgid, excuse me, and that can be reported to us through our website, which is michigan.gov/invasives.
So I guess the best thing for people to do would be to snap a picture maybe so that you can see what they are talking about. And how would they give you the exact location, especially if they're out in the middle of the woods?
Right. And that's a good point. There is an app that you can download on your phone. It's called the Midwest Invasive Species Information Network, or MISIN, MISIN for short. You can look it up under MISIN, either through your phone or on your computer, and download the app. It allows you to locate the spot where you're taking the photo and make the report right there on your phone.
So that's that makes it nice and easy, but also it helps your team to be able to identify the exact location as well.
Correct. That information goes right to our technical experts, and they follow up on those reports.
And so with that, what else should we be looking for while we're out?
Well, something that you can look for not only when you're out, but when you're in receiving those Christmas packages is another invader that's not yet in Michigan, but we're concerned about it. This is the spotted lanternfly. Currently, the largest infestation is in Pennsylvania. It was just recorded in Ohio this summer. Now, this pest is actually a sap-sucking winged bug. It's called a fly, but it doesn't look like a house fly. It looks kind of more like a moth when its wings are folded. And when it opens up, it has the black and yellow abdomen like a bee. So when it's folded up, it's sort of a grayish color with black spots. But then when it opens up, it has red on the wings too. So it's a very showy creature. The problem with this bug is that, again, it's sap sucking, but it tends to attack hardwood trees and fruit crops. So this could be a very big concern for our grape growers, even our hops growers in Michigan, as well as our apples. So we want to take a look out for this. The reason we're concerned about it now is because not only is it in Pennsylvania and Ohio, but just recently we found dead bodies of these bugs in some packing materials in 2 different locations in Michigan. So as I said, people are receiving lots of packages now. Be alert, look for, I mean, if you see a bug in a package, you should definitely get a hold of us anyway. But if you're seeing a bright red-winged bug there, let us know, because we're concerned about them getting through with shipping. Another way this bug could get here, it doesn't fly very far by itself, so it's not going to fly here, is by laying egg masses. These egg masses look sort of like chewing gum or putty, and they stick to lots of different things, including vehicles and even packing materials or things that you might get shipped that have been sitting outdoors. So as we're sitting here waiting for our FedEx packages, be vigilant. And again, something unusual that you see on or in a package, please contact us.
I will say it never once ever occurred to me to see if there was a dead bug in one of my packages. And if so, if I did see that, because I'm sure I've noticed that once or twice before, I would never think to contact anyone about it.
Well, and there's so many packages and things being shipped here and there right now, especially, again, the pandemic has really ramped this up. So, you know, this is something that, yeah, if you hadn't thought about it before, it's definitely something that you can do and should do.
And obviously the reason behind so much of this is because these critters can have a severe economic impact on our economy.
Absolutely, absolutely. In the case of spotted lanternfly, what happens is, I mean, the bugs themselves, they don't look very harmless, they look very harmless, I should say. But what they tend to do is they hatch and then they stay in the same location. As they grow, they begin sucking sap out of plants or trees in a sort of mass, you know, so there could be hundreds of these bugs. So if we're talking about a vineyard or something, we could see damage because they release this sort of excrete honeydew. It's a sticky substance and it doesn't smell very good, but it also attracts mold and it also attracts wasps and other things like that. So the mold can actually like kill the plants themselves. Or if it were on the grapes, you know, you wouldn't be able to sell them, for instance. But imagine too what this can do to your backyard. If spotted lanternflies are in the area, we're hearing this from Pennsylvania, that people's decks and things are getting covered with this sooty mold, and it's just disgusting. So not only has it an economic a potential economic impact, but also just our sort of outdoor lifestyle can be impacted as well.
So it's one thing to try to track it, but you find it. How do you stop it from, you know, continuing to be a bigger problem then?
Well, that's why what we call early detection is super important. If we can catch something coming early on, when only a few have arrived in Michigan, that allows us to contain the infestation and work really hard to eradicate it. If we don't notice it and it ends up springing up in multiple areas and they start breeding or reproducing at the rates that they do, then pretty soon we have a full-on outbreak, and then we're sort of behind the gun in terms of getting anything taken care of. So people being vigilant and people helping us out is really the way to slow or prevent the spread of these invasives.
You know, back in the beginning of the pandemic, we heard a lot about the killer hornet. Whatever happened to that? It never made it here, right?
Well, that's a great story because it did go national really, really fast. And from my understanding, that was out in Washington State. They found the tree that was infested with the murder hornet nest, and they were able to use some interesting techniques, including wrapping the tree in cellophane and then bombing it basically to get rid of the murder hornets. So that was a neat process to see, but hopefully, that's the kind of thing. Somebody sees it, they report it, and once they're able to, locate it, they're able to work very quickly to eradicate. So that's the kind of end story that we always hope for with invasives.
So we hear about these stories, but it's fascinating to me what you and so many people on your team actually do each and every day. So is there somewhat of like an alert or a bulletin that comes out from various states to say this has been spotted here, and then that's how you all work together to track it?
Yes, absolutely. We work with federal partners as well as state partners. We work very closely with especially the Great Lakes states, but across the U.S., and communicate about what threats are coming in and things like that. So the federal government is really excellent help with the USDA alerting us with those kinds of pests, but we also work within the Great Lakes region for the aquatic pests that we're concerned about.
Joanne Foreman with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. She's the communications coordinator for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Invasive Species Program. So I'm sure the list is long. Are there a few others that you want the public to try to be on the lookout for?
Sure. Well, one other that's recently come up, and I want to bring up because it's the first sighting that's in Michigan. This is called mile-a-minute weed. It's a vine that grows very, very quickly, hence the name. Of course, it doesn't grow a mile a minute, but it can grow up to 6 inches a day or 25 feet in a couple weeks. So this vine is an Asian vine that made its way into the US in the 30s, I think, but it hasn't spread very much. It was on our watch list because we are concerned about what it might do for areas like Christmas tree farms. Anywhere you have small plants that you're trying to nurture into large trees, or whether you've done a replanting or something, this vine comes in and it likes the sun. So what happens is it tends to use trees to grow upward, and in climbing those trees, it can actually smother the trees with its growth. This vine also has little blue fruits, and the birds really like those. So they tend to eat the fruits and then disperse it, and it could be miles away from an original plant. So again, being on the lookout for something unusual, that's how this was cited initially and submitted to us. And we sure hope that, again, people are looking for unusual things. If you're looking for mile-a-minute weed right now, it might be dried up for the year. The leaves are very unique in that they're triangular shaped, almost like an equilateral triangle. The fruits, which are blue and look like about the size of peas and grow in a cluster, they may still be visible on plants.
So Joanne, once you identify one of these species, is there a process to not only eradicate it, but also to try to track how it got here?
Well, tracking how it got here can be difficult, especially, for instance, with the mile-a-minute weed. The infestation that we looked at had been there for a couple of years, and because we could tell by just how many plants there were. But in terms of tracking it, we have to assume in that case that it was probably a bird that came in. Other cases like the spotted lanternfly, where it's human movement, that's maybe sometimes easier to track. A lot of these species do move into Michigan because of human movement, whether it's something that accidentally got stuck on our vehicle, like an egg mass from a spotted lanternfly, or whether it's a plant that someone saw somewhere else and decided they really wanted in their garden. Those kinds of things, we often, mostly unknowingly, are the cause of bringing in new species.
You're listening to 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake, 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills. Joining us on the Oakland County Megacast this morning is Joanne Foreman. She's the communications coordinator for the Michigan Department of Natural Resources Invasive Species Program. How has work changed for you and members of your team during the middle of this pandemic?
Well, it's been a lot different. Like I said, we have been getting more reports from the public because the public is outside. On the flip side of that, many of us have not been able to return to offices or the field, but we have gotten special permission in certain cases to continue field work, especially with our red swamp crayfish and our grass carp initiatives that were going on. Most field workers are now back in the field. For instance, the hemlock woolly adelgid surveys are underway right now on our lakeshore counties around Lake Michigan. But it has really, in some ways, help us raise awareness because people are looking at the outdoors more carefully. But it's also given us new and different ways to work, just like everybody else has.
Right. And do you worry that there is going to be some type of longer term impact that the pandemic is going to have on our environment here in the state of Michigan?
That's a really interesting question. I will say that, people are traveling less. So in some ways, like I said, human transport is brings in invasives. So I think that maybe less may have moved or come in this year because of the decrease in travel. But in terms of looking at it long term, I think it's given people, I think that renewal of interest in nature, I think is probably the most important part. I think that, and people having the time to learn new things because they're home more, has really helped us in a lot of ways. And I'm hoping that that trend keeps going.
And that could even spark future employees for the Department of Natural Resources.
Oh, I would hope so. I would hope so. There's so many bright young folks out there, and this is such an interesting field to be part of.
I know it's been tough for so many organizations when it comes to students and internships.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can talk about that or if you had the opportunity to work with any, but are you keeping up the internship program there at the MDNR?
Well, currently, we did have a hiring freeze, so we weren't able to, for several months to bring in any interns, but with the new budget and things, we are beginning those back up again. There are a lot of opportunities, especially in the DNR with our parks, and there's already announcements that have gone out for hiring for the spring. So if folks are interested in the outdoors and careers, there's certainly a great place to start with the DNR.
Yeah, and on top of that too, who doesn't want to work outside?
Exactly. I wish I could be outside more often.
Joanne, anything else that maybe we didn't touch on that you want to bring up and let our listeners and viewers know about?
Well, I think if you're looking for information on invasive species, we have a whole array of those species that we're most concerned about, whether they're here or whether we're afraid they might be coming here, on our website, which again is michigan.gov/invasives. And you can learn a lot about how invasives move and the kinds of things that you can do in your daily life to prevent that movement, whether it's making sure that you brush off your boots and things before you get in the car after leaving a natural area so you don't end up moving seeds to a new location, or cleaning and draining and drying your boats after you're done on the lake so you don't inadvertently move some new weeds or even organisms to another water body. All of those pieces of information, as well as some teaching tools for schools, are available on our website.
Oh, that's great. And so before we let you go, what do you think is the biggest threat to Michigan and our environment right now as we continue to go through this crisis?
Crisis related then, huh?
Or no, just in general, actually, in general.
In general, in terms of invasive species, I think still our biggest threat and biggest concern is invasive carp coming up through the Chicago area waterway system. The state is highly concerned about that. That could be devastating to our Great Lakes. And so, of all the things, that is the thing that we are most focused on and continue to work to cooperate with other states and the federal government to get movement to put new barriers there.
Yeah, so give us a little bit of background for the people not familiar with why that's such a big issue.
Okay, so there are 3 species of invasive carp that have moved up into Chicago in the what they call the CAWS, the Chicago Area Waterway System. Those are bighead, silver, and black carp. Now, you may have seen the silver carp videos where they're jumping out of the water when the motors are running and they're hitting the boaters and things like that. That's only one. The bighead is even larger fish. It doesn't jump like the silver do, but it still eats. They eat so much. Right now, in certain areas of the waterway, 90% of what they call the biomass, so the live fish, 90% is invasive carp. So what that means is what's happening to the rest of the fish is they're disappearing, not because the carp are eating them, but the carp are eating their food and they're crowding them out. So imagine something like that coming into the Great Lakes, you know, our beautiful waters where we recreate, where we fish and things like that. And we could be losing species of fish, losing our commercial fisheries, as well as having struggles with recreation because nobody wants to go out on a boat and get hit with a carp, you know. So this is very important. The economic impacts could be enormous to the Great Lakes states if these fish are able to get up through that waterway into Lake Michigan. So right now, the Army Corps of Engineers has designed a plan to put barriers in at an area called Brandon Road. It's a lock and dam system. And so there's a lot of processes that have to be gone through, and we need, you know, funding allocated from Congress in order to make this happen.
And we're talking about a lot of funding as well.
A lot of funding, yeah. It's not pocket change for sure.
Do you feel like you're constantly trying to fight for the funding because there are so many other things going on in the world right now?
And there are. I mean, priorities are changing every day. And right now, our greatest priority is the pandemic, of course, you know, and it's hard to put something up against pandemic relief. But yet the fight continues. I mean, it's an issue that, you know, right now we've been lucky. We have not found these fish in the Great Lakes, but, you know, someday they could get through the existing structures and we could end up with a real problem on our hands that, again, prevention is so much less expensive than trying to mop up afterward. And, you know, would we even be able to remove those fish if they came? So it's money one way or the other, but we're hoping that our economies, our Great Lakes economy, is not impacted by that invader.
So many things to juggle in the environment as well. Joanne, anything else that you want to touch on before we let you go?
Nothing that comes right to mind, but I want to thank you so much for bringing me on and opening the conversation about invasives.
No, I always learn something new, so it's been great having you. Quickly though, before we let you go, what's that app again?
The app is the MISSIN app. Just look it up as MISIN, and it stands for Midwest Invasive Species Information Network.
Okay, great.
Download it on your phone and you'll be all ready to go outdoors and help us out.
And that is, that's what we are all trying to do during this COVID-19 pandemic. If anything, it is helping us find ways to bring together and be a community. And so since you're outside, go ahead and download the app. I'm sure it's a free download.
It is, yes.
And it'll make it easy for you and learn a few things and help out nature as well. Joanne, it's been so great having you with us. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much, Ronnie. Have a great day.
You too. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. Still a lot to talk about in the second hour of the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, I'm Dr. Faust, the Medical Director for the Oakland County Health Division. The most important thing you can do to prevent the spread of illness is to wash your hands thoroughly and often. Follow these 6 easy steps every time you wash your hands. Step 1, turn on the sink and wet your hands with warm water. Step 2, apply soap to your hands and lather between your fingers, under your nails, and the front and back of your hands and wrists. Step 3, wash your hands by scrubbing them together for at least 20 seconds. Step 4, rinse your hands with warm, clean water. And step 5, dry your hands with a clean cloth towel, a paper towel, or hot air blow dryer. If you're using a cloth towel, make sure to change it often. For handheld faucets, turn off the water using a paper towel instead of your bare hand. Step 6, if you're using a paper towel, throw it away. Practice healthy habits like washing your hands after coughing or sneezing into them to keep you and others healthy. Go to oakgov.com/health or call Nurse on Call at 1-800-848-5533 to learn more.
Michigan, the coronavirus pandemic has put us all to the test. And now, It's time to put COVID-19 to the test. As we move forward, testing will be critical. We encourage anyone who has reason to get tested to do so, those with symptoms and those without. If you are leaving home and going back to work, get tested. If you think you may have COVID-19 or you've been exposed recently through family, friends, or coworkers, get tested. Our test locator tool can help you find the right testing site that fits your needs. Even if you're looking for easy access with no cost, no prescription, and no appointment necessary, we've got you covered. Help Michigan move forward, not backward. To find a testing site or learn more, visit michigan.gov/coronavirus test. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Great to have you with us on the Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. As a reminder, you can catch Tyler and I Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to noon on Civic Center TV, Birmingham Area Municipal Access. If you have cable, you can tune us in on Channel 15 Comcast, Channel 99 on AT&T. You can also dial us in on the radio if you're out driving around, 89.3 Lakes FM, 88.1 FM The Biff. And then today we also are live streaming today's edition on my journalist Facebook page, Ronnie Dahl. So that is why we are called the Oakland County Megacast, because you can pretty much find us anywhere and everywhere on the TV, on the radio, and on social media. And as we continue to wait to connect with our next guest, we'll go ahead and take a quick look at the day's headlines. Michigan's top epidemiologist said Wednesday there's reason for cautious optimism because of new data emerging about the spread of coronavirus in the state. COVID-19 case rates are starting to dip. Michigan is now averaging about 516 cases per million people. That's down from 610 cases per million people last week. Hospitalizations of people with COVID-19 symptoms and the rate of intensive care unit admissions appears to be plateauing or declining as well, even though the state overall is now seeing hospitalization at about 90% of what we were at back at the spring peak. Three metrics health officials watch most carefully to measure the state of the pandemic are the percentage of positive coronavirus tests, the number of cases per million people, and the percentage of hospital beds occupied by patients with COVID-19. So we have been in the middle of the pause, and it could be having a positive effect on the number of cases here in the state of Michigan. Also making news this morning on civiccentertv.com, healthcare professionals can decline COVID-19 vaccines for now at least. Millions of healthcare workers are slated to receive the first batch of potentially life-saving COVID-19 vaccines by the end of this month, but not all of them want to be first in line to get those vaccines. Only 1/3 of a panel of 13,000 nurses said they would voluntarily take the vaccine. Another third said they wouldn't. The rest said they were unsure. That's according to a study that was done this past October by the American Nurses Association. If nurses and other healthcare professionals continue to shy away from the shots, some hospitals and clinics say they'll require employees to get vaccinated if they want to keep their jobs. An advisory committee to the Federal Centers for Disease Control and Prevention recommended December 1st that the nation's 21 million healthcare workers and 3 million long-term care residents receive the first batch of shots, which are going to be administered 2 per person, 3 weeks apart. Also making news today on Civic Center TV, Detroit's 10th annual Menorah and the D, a community Hanukkah celebration at Campus Martius, will go virtual this year. As the Jewish holiday begins at sundown tonight, families and community members are encouraged to join the festivities on Zoom. and light their menorahs as the 26-foot Detroit menorah is lit. The event typically draws thousands of people, but this year, as a result of COVID-19, safety protocols are going to be put in place. And with that, so at 5 p.m., guests can join a Zoom link on menorahndthed.com for greetings from community leaders and dignitaries, a 10-year recap, and the torch ceremony. That's going to be followed by a 6 p.m. Zoom after party during which families watching from any location will be welcome to share their greetings. We are right now working to connect with the rabbi, who will be with us here shortly to speak a little bit more about tonight's event, Menorah and the D. But while we connect with him, we're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast. But just as a quick reminder, you can get the latest headlines on civiccentertv.com. Also, if you go to the top of the page, click on coronavirus, you'll also see direct links for some of the latest resources, including the CDC, the state of Michigan, as well as Oakland County. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, hopefully we will have the rabbi connected and ready to continue the conversation on the menorah and the D. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
Michigan, we still need to stay careful because we don't want to go backwards. Back to where we started. So keep standing 6 feet apart. Keep wearing a mask in public. And if you have symptoms, talk to a healthcare provider about getting tested. To move forward, let's all do our part. So stay careful. Michigan.gov/coronavirus. Michigan, we're calling on you to save lives. Don't ignore it. Don't let it go to voicemail. It's urgent. In fact, it's critical. Because if you've been in close contact with someone who tests positive for COVID-19, you may have been exposed to the virus. And you could get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department. So please answer the call to learn how to protect yourself, your family, and friends. We're calling on you to stop the spread of COVID-19, to make it safe to reopen businesses and help Michigan move forward. So if you get a call from My COVID Help or your local health department, you may have been exposed to someone with COVID-19. To protect us all, answer the call. Learn more at michigan.gov/contain-COVID. A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services.
Thank you for tuning in to the Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast. Hanukkah begins at sundown tonight, and for the past 9 years, thousands would come together at campus marches for the lighting of the menorah and the D. This year's celebration is going to be a little bit different, as we just mentioned, and talking about it a little bit further, joining us on the Oakland County Megacast is Rabbi Kasriel Shimtov. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you with us as always. I learn so much every time you come on the show. If we could just start before we get into talking about tonight's celebration, for those that aren't of the Jewish faith, do you want to give us a little bit of background on Hanukkah?
Yes, I just want to say that it is going to be a little different this year in that it's going to be bigger and better. We'll talk about that later, okay? In terms of the Hanukkah, what's the Hanukkah celebration? Hanukkah is an ancient Jewish holiday. It's a time when about 2,000 years ago, when the Jewish people in the Holy Land of Israel were under persecution by, at that time, the Syrian Greeks, and who or culturally or to have a good life, but they were opposed to their religion. A small band of Maccabees stood up against them, and through guerrilla warfare and the watchful eye of God, they have been successful in overcoming their enemies. And when they were done, they came back to the Holy Temple in Jerusalem, which was desecrated and defiled. They rededicated the temple, and they wanted to light the candelabra, which is one of the big traditions in the Holy Temple. But they only had one jug of oil that was not defiled, that was pure with the seal of the high priest. And they took that one jug of oil, lit the menorah, even though they knew that it takes 8 days to produce new ones. But they went ahead, they lit the menorah, and that's when the miracle took place, that the jug of oil of one day lasted for 8 days. And thus became the 8-day holiday of Hanukkah, where we light our candles every day. We light one day, one candle the first day, the second day, 2 candles, 3 candles, until 8 days, we have the full candelabra.
It is a beautiful tradition. And I know the lighting of the menorah and the D started, this would be the 10th year anniversary. I remember back on the first year, took a lot to get it going, but now it has become such a tradition for so many families. But this year, let's talk about how it's going to be different.
Okay. Yes, it is 10 years. It's exciting. We're celebrating a special time. And, there's something special. It is a city tradition, and it just brings excitement and joy and really brings you into the spirit of this holiday. And what we're going to do this year is, many people came over to me and they said, Rabbi, this year you won't be able to do menorah and the D. But when we look at the story of Hanukkah, is how the few overpowered the many, how nothing could stop you. There's a candle. Each and every one of us has a soul, has a candle to shine in the world. And when it looks like it's dark out there and there's challenges, nothing could stop light. And the light is what we establish on Hanukkah. So we knew that there's no going back. We have to be able to celebrate bigger and better. So what we did was, in a safe way, we're having a full celebration downtown, lighting the menorah. But this year we added that it will be able to be seen by tens of thousands of people who are watching it logged in virtually. So not only will have the thousands of people that we usually have downtown, but we're going to have so many in the community. In fact, I know many individuals who will be gathering their families, having a Hanukkah party, lighting their menorah as they log in and join with us. And we light the menorah in the city of Detroit and bring the light into the world.
We need light right now.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, there's no question about it. I think this message of Hanukkah, which is every year, of course, is now something that we all know we need in our lives, we need in our city, we need in our community in 2020. So, I was saying that there's a saying, there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. But I heard a new twist to it. It's, be the light in the tunnel. And I think that right now where we are, some people feel like we're in a tunnel, feel like it's dark, there's challenges, unexpected, where are we going? Where's the end? And for some people it is very difficult, but we have two options. You can kind of trip over in the dark, you could fall in the dark, or you could be the light. And each and every one of us could be that light in the tunnel. We can light those candles. We can light up our own lives. Turn to a neighbor, embrace them, show a smiling face, do good deeds, and don't only do it at home, but share it with the world. And that's what the message of Hanukkah is all about, and I think we all can appreciate that now.
Do you want to go into the history of menorah in the D? Because it really hasn't been happening that long. This is only the 10th year. What did it take to get this event up and going? And how important is it to help share the meaning of Hanukkah to not just those from the Jewish faith, but to the general public as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, let me just tell you in terms of the message that you just mentioned, Hanukkah has a very universal message. The message we just talked about, the fact of being light. When you hit darkness, you don't hit it with brooms. You light a candle, and it dispels the darkness. Another beautiful message that I think we share on Hanukkah is something that we've come to just expect and that is religious freedom. Here you had the Jewish people in the Holy Land of Israel that were fighting for their basic religious freedom. Here we are so fortunate, we live in a country that we take that for granted, and our government and our country protects those rights for each and every individual to practice their faith. And that's something that Hanukkah represents. When we light that menorah in the center of the city, and you light those candles, it's sending a message of religious freedom, of positivity, of bringing light into the world. And that's something that's for the entire community. So going to the history of Menorah Nadi, you know, Chabad Lubavitch, which is the movement that lights public menorah lightings all over the world. In fact, this goes back for about 40 years ago when the Rebbe, the leader of the movement, launched this idea, this campaign of bringing these messages out in the public arena by these public lightings. And it's been going on all over the world. And here in Detroit as well, we have been doing in different cities across the state, public lightings. But then it was 10 years ago, we decided, you know, Detroit, right in the center, downtown, we've been kind of, you know, we didn't go into Detroit, we didn't go downtown that much. I would say, we got to bring it right into Campus Martius. And we came there the first year, and the first year, we made a menorah out of ice. Okay, it was an ice menorah. And we thought we'll get a few hundred people from the suburbs. And we come there, it was kind of dark. I mean, you didn't have all the lights in the city like you have today. And 500-600 people showed up. It was like, at that point, overwhelming, like, wow, you know, there's excitement. I remember standing there that first year, and I see a fellow, it was like a half an hour before the program, and we're set up, it's kind of dark, you know, and there's a young fellow that's coming my way, and he's like standing there and looking, and he just seemed very excited. So I come over to him, I smile, I say, so what are you feeling? He says, I'm excited. I said, what are you excited about? You know, he said, to stand here in the city, in Detroit, and we're going to light a menorah and celebrate the holiday right here, sends goosebumps. He was like all excited. And you know what? I always felt that thrill. Whenever I go on the lift and I see the thousands of people, there's a certain energy, a certain excitement. It's not just coming together anywhere. It's a feeling of we're here. We're out in the streets. We're out in the center. And we're going to share our message of hope, of light and love and everything that we have to share. And that's, you know, so we started off the first year. You want me to go further?
Sure.
Okay. The second year, we decided, okay, look, this looks like people are taking to it. We got to get a proper menorah for Detroit. This deserves something special. So we called
because
up
that first year, were you afraid that an ice menorah would melt?
Well, we knew it would melt at some point, but we weren't planning to keep it there the whole holiday. We were just going to have it there for the event. You know?
Because you never know about the winter weather in Michigan this time of year, right?
Yeah, at that time it was cold, but it was supposed to be just for a few hours, an event, and quite frankly, we didn't know if we were going to, you know, what's going to happen the year after. But we saw the energy, we felt the excitement, and you know, this was a time when we started looking for a downtown to build and grow and bring light into the city. So we called the Nordine brothers, the Detroit Design Center, and we asked them to design and build a menorah, and they built a magnificent menorah, 26-foot menorah made out of glass and steel to really represent the city. We call it the Detroit Menorah. And we put that up there, and instead of 500 people the first year, we had 1,200 people the next year, and it just was growing from year to year. And you know what was interesting was the interest of big organizations, corporations, sponsors, and so many different Jewish organizations of different walks of life, even within the Jewish community, and volunteers. It was just there was just an energy and excitement about this program that I felt we got to keep it going, and we got to grow and grow. And you know what? It's 10 years, and it hasn't stopped. Every year, it's greater than the year before. There's never like a dull moment. There's all buzz and excitement, and people really enjoy it.
And it's so, Rabbi, during this pandemic, it's a challenging time for so many people. Have you talked with individuals that are questioning faith right now during this crisis?
You know, I find actually there's always individuals that, you know, question faith and where they are in life and so on. But I find many people who are inspired at this time. You know, I think we're being at home, being sort of things going slower in life, is allowing us to look at messages and inspiration more than usual. And I actually find I'm hearing more people tell me their feelings of inspiration and how they're looking at life deeper and focusing more on important things and realizing, you know, what is important in life. It's just, I'm hearing a lot of that over the last year. And, you know, of course, it always comes together with the, I know it's difficult and for some people, of course, personally suffering and family members. And for that, you know, there has to be consolation and support. But even for that, I think people now realize they have to reach out to give that support. And, you know, when you give, you get. You realize that I have to be the light. And that's, I think that's the overriding messages that I hear from community members.
So tonight, it's not just the ceremony that's going to be Zoomed. I believe there's an after party as well. How is that going to work?
Well, you know, we actually, the after party, a little part of it was moved to before the party. At 5 o'clock is gonna be like a concert, you know, a band and some other performance, and then there will be at 5:30 will be the live program. That's going to go to 6:30, and then there will be a short after party on Zoom following that. You know, it's I think it's going to be streamed live so people could just watch it, but others are going to choose to go on to Zoom. And you know what's interesting, and this is what I love about this year, about the Melodie this year, is on Hanukkah, the message is everyone should bring that light into their home, right? We go out into the street because even in darkness, even in the outside, even where there's other influences and other challenges, you bring the light even to the darkness. What's happening this year is all these thousands of people are going to be lighting their candles in their homes while we're lighting the candle in the city. And that we never had that before. It's actually a new way of celebrating Hanukkah. We're making history. And when you think of tens of thousands of people, whatever that number is going to be, are in their homes, they're lighting those candles themselves while they're watching us light it downtown. That gives me a thrill. I love it. And you know what? Next year, God willing, there's no pandemic. We're back to normal. We'll have thousands of people downtown, but I believe we're still gonna stream it, and we're still gonna have it for those who are home, because this is, you always, when you're in the challenge and you overcome that challenge, the good has to stay with you. You always have to grow, and then you take with you what you gained from that challenge. So in the future, we're downtown and in the homes of individuals.
So who's going to be joining you this evening up on stage?
That's usually kept to the end. Well, we have a number of people who are going to be joining us in person, and others that we asked them this year. Usually we have a whole base of dignitaries and government officials, but we have to keep it by code. We have to keep it to very few people that are going to be in the program. So we have many messages from all those dignitaries and supporters that will be shared, and then we have some who will actually come up. We have Congresswoman Brenda Lawrence. We have Secretary of State Benson. We have the director of United Way, who has been so helpful to the community. We have a representative of our lamplighters. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with that. We, at this event, as part of the ceremony, we always choose within the community lamplighters who represent individuals who become a lamplighter and who share their light with other people of hope and love and assistance and so on. So we choose them, we honor them, because we want the message to be for Hanukkah that each one of us should be a lamplighter. So we have with us a representative of the lamplighters, and we will also have the one that will light the menorah is going to be a representative of the Sherman family and the Fisher Foundation, who does so much for the community, and they will light the menorah on behalf of the city of Detroit. So those are some of the people. There are others, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And last year we had Jennifer Gilbert, Dan Gilbert's wife, and Nick, their son, who came up on the lift. Every year we have wonderful people who are all part of this, and we're all excited to be doing this in a few hours. 5 o'clock.
So 5 o'clock it gets started. Again, Menorah and the D is where people can watch it streamed live. And we also want to just let people know, do not go downtown to try to participate, because that's going to be forbidden due to the pandemic. So stay home, stay warm, do it from the comfort of your own home.
Correct. And this is like I said, this is something, as we're doing this here, there's a national menorah being lit at the White House, literally 5 o'clock, same time, in almost every major city, in every major place where at least there's some of a Jewish community there, and Chabad Lubavitch movement, there's these menorah lightings taking place. So now Detroit is definitely up there. I want to tell you that there's a website that services the entire Chabad movement with 5,000 centers around the world. And tonight, out of all the places, they're streaming live our Detroit event. So we are definitely, we have a wonderful program here. We can be proud of our city, and God willing, we'll all be able to celebrate Hanukkah, not only tonight, but the next 7 nights following. We light the menorah every night. So that's all part of the celebration.
Well, it's a beautiful tradition and a beautiful message that we all need to take part and embrace right now during the middle of this pandemic. Rabbi, have fun tonight. Enjoy yourself. And thank you again for coming on with us.
Happy Hanukkah to everyone. And I will enjoy myself. You should too.
Thank you so much. We're going to take a quick break here on the Oakland County Megacast, just about 20 minutes left in the show. Joining us next will be Maggie Hume. She's with the Michigan Animal Rescue League out of Pontiac. They have some great things going on there that we are excited to share with you. You're watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast.
Hi, my name is Kurt Lawson, and I'm the Public Information Officer for West Bloomfield Township. We wanted to reach out to you, our older adults, to provide information that you may find useful during this difficult time. We want to ensure you that West Bloomfield Town Hall, our Waters and Utility Department, West Bloomfield Parks, and our police and fire departments continue to work hard on your behalf. Information and resources can be found on the Township website, the police Facebook and Twitter, or call West Bloomfield Parks COVID-19 Help Hotline. Please remember to keep your social distance of at least 6 feet, wear facial coverings when you leave your home, and wash your hands for at least 20 seconds with soap. These precautions will help keep you safe during these difficult times.
This may seem uncomfortable, but so is being hooked to an IV, sleeping in a hospital bed, and fighting for your life. When it comes to COVID-19, comfort is not as important as saving lives. Wearing a mask can greatly reduce the chance of spreading the virus. So mask up, Michigan, every time you leave home.
We're excited to have our last guest on with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. After decades of planning, fundraising, and building, the Michigan Animal Rescue League has finally completed its new 15,000 square foot facility in Pontiac. And while a public celebration has been put on hold due to the pandemic, the animals are definitely celebrating right now. And joining us to talk to us a little bit more about the excitement going on over at the Michigan Animal Rescue League is Maggie Hume. She's the executive director for the Michigan Animal Rescue League. My apologies for calling you Maggie.
I'm so used to it. Happens all the time. No apology necessary.
So I've been to your old facility numerous times. I've dropped off donations to your temporary location there in Pontiac. It took me a while to find it.
Yeah, we were tucked away.
Very tucked away. I was like, where is it? But I'm so excited for you and everyone over there at Marl and this new facility. Tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you. Well, we're excited too, and we appreciate all the excitement from you and everyone in the community, because it's been a long time coming, as you mentioned. I remember when I started at Michigan Animal Rescue League about 12 years ago, we were talking about it then. And as you know, Ronnie, we've been serving the animals in the community from this same corner, at the corner of Featherstone and MLK and Pontiac, since 1953. So we've got deep roots in the community, and we've been here a long time. And our original facility was actually a home at one point, and then it just, there were several additions put on, and we did the best we could out of that facility. We did some great work there, but as an organization, we knew we wanted to help more animals. There's a demand in the community for the services that we provide. We wanted to be able to help more and provide a higher level of care. So it's been on our radar for a long time to be able to make this jump to this new facility. So we couldn't be more excited as an organization.
Talk about the fundraising. And where did the funds come from? Because it's not cheap to build a facility.
No, it's not. It's an animal shelter, there's a lot of, we like to talk about all the cool and fun things that we have, the indoor outdoor kennels and the heated floors, but there's a lot of operational things that go into a shelter that aren't the most exciting, but they are expensive. We have to think about disease control and drainage and air quality and air exchanges. So it is expensive. It was about a $6.4 million project for us. And, Marl has always been fortunate that we have a very generous donor base, and we're lucky that the community supports what we do. We did have one donor in particular who stepped forward and said, I want to see this happen. It's a donor who believes in our mission. He had adopted an animal from us, and he said, let's do this, let's make it happen. And we talked with some other donors, and we were able to make it happen. And, it was truly a team effort. We couldn't do it without the donors. We had, an amazing leader for our project. We had a great architect firm. We worked with Ply Plus out of Ann Arbor, and they really helped us sort of bring this vision to life, to kind of combine all the tactical things that we need in the facility, but also making it beautiful and welcoming, and all the natural light and all the fun things that we wanted for the animals. And then we also worked with Frank Rewald and Sons. They were our builder out of Rochester, and again, they were great to work with. Everybody together just made this dream a reality.
It's so exciting. A lot of animal shelters actually saw an increase of adoptions during the pandemic. Did you over there at Marl experience that as well?
Definitely. Yeah. I think it was, across the country when we talked to our counterparts, it seemed that there were a lot of households that, with lockdowns and with people being home more, working from home more, it seemed like the right time for a lot of households to want to foster and adopt. Some of that has tapered off, a little bit, but there definitely was a spike in adoptions and foster homes.
And so where do things stand right now? Your facility is open, and but you had to withhold doing your public celebration.
Yeah, that's been a little bit of it's a little ironic after all these years of trying to get this done. And then, we all sort of internally had this, 2020 is going to be a great year. And, it did delay construction briefly, but we were fortunate that we were still able to complete the project in 2020. We do our biggest fundraiser of the year is in the spring, our Yappy Hour event. We did have to pivot a little bit and turn that into a virtual and online fundraiser. And, now that we're in the building, we're not able to sort of make that big splash and invite, we want to invite all those donors that made it happen and the community that supports us. We want to invite everybody in, and, we wanted to have an event and celebrate, but we're focused now on the animals. Like that's got to always stay our number one focus. And we have not closed our doors to animal care or to the community that needs us since the pandemic started. The needs of the animals never went away, so neither did we. We're inviting people in by appointment only. We do still have a team of staff, and we have volunteers coming in on specific shifts. You know, it's not the usual hustle bustle that we're used to, especially this time of year. People are always coming in with donations, and you know, adoptions are always do well this time of year. It's a little quieter, but we're focused on animal care, and that's really because if we have an incident or an outbreak, we need a team here to care for these animals 7 days a week. So we've got to be extra careful and make sure that we have a full staff. So we do adoptions, we do intakes, and we're providing support through our community outreach program, and we do it all through appointment, which actually has been kind of nice. The appointment process, particularly for adoptions, is really nice that we're able to kind of roll out the red carpet and really spend time with each individual potential adopter. So that's kind of worked out well for us.
How many animals do you have in the shelter right now that need homes?
Well, so we have in the shelter right now, I bet you we're probably at about 120 animals, probably 130. Not all of them are available for adoption. You know, a lot of times animals will arrive at our doors, and sometimes, you know, it's a few days to a week and they're ready for adoption. You know, they don't need a lot. Some of them require some pretty extensive medical care, or they need a little more time to kind of decompress from whatever they've been through, wherever they've been. So we always tend to have more waiting for adoption than available for adoption. But we get, you know, new animals in every day. You can always see our adoptable animals on our website. We encourage everyone to check out the website and fill out an application ahead of time, and then we'll call and schedule an appointment so you can come in and meet with any animals that interest you.
Yeah, and with that, Mickey, because we have a rescue dog that we got last January, and she's still adapting. Let's just say that. She's going through a lot of training, but there has to be somewhat of an emotional part to the animals during this process as well. And I would think for them to be in a brighter place and a happier place for them, it can help with that transition.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So like I mentioned before, sort of the quality of the wait. You know, we are fortunate that we're not just throwing an animal in a cage and calling it good and they're waiting for an adopter. You know, we're working with these animals. We're helping them, you know, retain or in some cases regain their ability to connect with people. That's important because we don't always know where they've been, what they've been through. If they could talk, it would be a lot easier. Or if they all came with a little instruction manual so we could kind of follow where they've been or what they've been through, what kind of care they haven't received. So it takes time, and we give our animals the solace of that time. You know, they're not on the clock when they come in. If they need a lot of time and they need, you know, slow introductions to new people, our staff and volunteers are going to give them that time. And you know, having the natural light for the animals, all of that, you know, emotionally, when animals are well, it tends to affect their physical health as well. And, you know, we want these animals to be ready for adoption. So, you know, the new facility gives them, you know, the indoor-outdoor access in our dog kennel yard for the dogs to have choice of environment 24 hours a day and to be able to go outside and get fresh air. And, you know, our new kennels, they don't face each other, sort of like that old traditional, like, animal could, like that old dog kennel kind of, you know, where the kennels are like this. Ours look out into an open air courtyard where they can see snow and birds and rain, and it's just much more natural for them. And we could tell right away, the minute we moved the animals in, we could tell that they were doing well in this environment. It's a much lower stress environment than what we were dealing with before. And for the cats to be able to do what's natural for them, that's what we want to be able to provide them. So can they perch? Can they climb? Can they hide? Are they getting sunlight? You know, and when we talk about individual care, you know, some cats are very social and they want to be around people. Others want to, they want their privacy, they want their time away, and we don't want to force any animal. We want them to be able to come around in their own time, and the space in this building and the flexibility that we've created in this building allows us to do that for each animal.
Yeah, cats are very unique in that regard, aren't they?
They are.
And with that, even though you have a great new facility, I'm sure that donations are always needed and always appreciated. I know a lot of other animal rescues right now, they're always looking for towels and blankets, things of that nature. What is on your wish list there at the Michigan Animal Rescue League?
That's a great question. So yeah, towels and blankets, we can always use. Cleaning supplies, paper towels, things like that. Cat food, kitten food. We have a wish list on our website that we're constantly updating. And there's times even that we'll do a post on social media that says we really need kitten food or we really need puppy food. And the great thing now about, the way the world works is anyone that wants to support can just order something off of our Amazon wish list and send it right to the shelter. They don't even have to leave their home to be able to help. And that's a really sort of real-time way for us to say we need this, and then supporters can help and provide it directly to the animals. So, donations of all kinds are important, now more than ever with, we're still seeing lots of animals coming to our doors. There's no shortage of that right now. So we're here every day working hard, and, we need the support of the community to be able to provide this kind of care for these animals.
Monkey Humes with us here on the Oakland County Megacast. Just another couple of minutes with you. We are going into the holiday season, and some people do get pets as gifts for individuals, but I would imagine sometimes those pets also end up coming back to you. So do you have any tips for people who are thinking about getting a furry addition to their family for the holiday season, or maybe thinking of getting one for, like a mother or a father or a loved one?
Sure. Yeah. So we, our adoption process really deters sort of the impulse buy or the sight unseen adoption. We really think that, there's a bond between an animal and its future family. And so our process requires everyone in the household to meet with the animal ahead of time. And you'll be surprised. Sometimes a family will come in and they'll be interested, and they think for sure they want this dog. And then they spend some time with a couple others and they think, okay, maybe this is more of a fit for us. So we don't recommend animals as surprise gifts. I mean, it's a lovely gesture. People, if they wanted to give a gift to a family member, but we would recommend the gift being the adoption process so that they can be a part of it, because animals are, dogs and cats and pets are a responsibility. They're a financial commitment, they're a time commitment, and it's a lifelong commitment. We never want to see, an animal come back. So while I think, and for some people, I'll be honest, sometimes during the holidays is a good time to bring an animal into your home. People are home from work, kids are home from school. Maybe you've got a little extra time. It's up to every family individually, but what's important is that you've really thought about it, you're really ready for this commitment, and that everyone in the household gets to be a part of deciding what animal you're going to bring in, because you're all going to be sharing your lives with this animal for a really long time. So it's important that everybody, feels the same and feels good about it.
And so with that, when you say it's a family affair, adopting a new friend into the family, do you allow for people with pets already in their home to bring those pets into the shelter to get to know the other animals?
Absolutely. So dogs, we generally will require a meet and greet with the dogs too, because that's important too. Like, your dog is a member of your family, right? And, sometimes dogs, may get along with certain dogs, but not others. So we found, it's less of a, it's more, our process is really conversational, and we really are trying to serve both the adopter and the animal. We want to make sure it's the right fit for everybody involved. We don't want an adopter to take an animal home and then have to go through the grief of 2 weeks later saying, my dog just can't get used to it. We're going to have to bring this dog back. That's not only hard on the animal, but that's not the kind of adoption experience that we want for our potential adopters. So Yes, we absolutely require that they bring their dogs in, and we'll make accommodations. We can do the meetings outside. We've, gone to other locations if it's a dog that's really scared to come to the shelter, or, we'll make accommodations because it's important to see them meet. And our staff is really well trained in sort of identifying, okay, even if it's not love at first sight between the two dogs, it doesn't have to be. It just, we want to make sure that, it looks like things are going to work out and this is going to be a safe situation.
Yeah, so years ago, I think it was, I was working for Fox 2 and I did an interview and a story with, I think they were puggles, the black dogs that came from a hoarding situation in Detroit, and they were so cute. And we had a rescue Cocker Spaniel at the time and brought her in, and she was like, no, this puppy is not coming home. So I'm sure someone else adopted the beautiful little dog because they were so adorable, but Katie ended up being a single doggy for her entire life.
Yeah. And that's okay.
She was spoiled. And now it's like you said, though, we have a new rescue, Trixie, and she thinks she's my husband's girlfriend, by the way. She's warming up to me, but definitely she is Woody's girlfriend. She's like, look, human, no. But they all have their personalities. So again, though, you guys, I'm so excited for you to have that new facility. You all deserve it because you do so much for the community and so much for all the animals in the Pontiac area as well. You've been a lifeline to so many animals there. So congratulations on your new facility. And again, if anyone has anything they want to donate, or if you want to make a donation maybe for the holiday season in someone's name, just go to Amazon or on your Facebook page. They can get that information.
Yeah, we have a really cool holiday giving guide on our website where you can do gifts, in someone's name. You can print out a photo of the animal that you've made the gift in honor of, so you can check that out.
Oh, that's a good way to do it, so that you actually have something to present to someone.
Yeah.
Well, best of luck to you and your team. McGee Humes with us. She's the executive director for the Michigan Animal Rescue League there in Pontiac. They've been a part of the community since 1953, and they have done so much good over the years, helping the animals of Pontiac. So McGee, thank you so much, and happy holidays to you and your entire team over there.
Thank you. Same to you. Thanks so much for having me.
Tyler, I don't know if you've ever been over there, but it is such, I'm so happy for their new shelter because, like she said, the old one was a house. It was a little small as well. So I'm excited for them. That's going to wrap it up for the Thursday edition of the Oakland County Megacast, though. But for Tyler and I, we want to say thank you to everyone for joining us and tuning in today. And we also want to say thank you to Larry as well as Jake for all of their work behind the scenes to help us get the show on the air. Thank you so much. Have a happy and a safe Hanukkah and a Thursday as well. This has been the Oakland County Megacast.
Keeping West Bloomfield connected during the coronavirus outbreak. This is 89.3 WBLD, Orchard Lake, West Bloomfield, Keego Harbor, Sylvan Lake, 89.3 Lakes FM. 12 noon, time for Lunch with Larry, kicking off with Eagles. And this song from the vocals and written by Timothy B. Schmidt, the bassist, who took over for Randy Meisner in the 70s and even acknowledged him at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in